Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome to the Living in Residence session. Good afternoon or good evening, depending on where in the world you're joining us from. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Andy Rayburn, and I am an international and admissions officer here at Carleton University. I have the privilege of traveling to various parts of the world, including India and Southeast Asia, and I hope that some of you are joining us from those regions today. We have a lot of information to cover today, so I'm going to hand it off to my friend and colleague, Harry, who can discuss residence with you.
Hey everyone, well it's nice to meet you. My name is Harry and thank you for that wonderful introduction, Andy. So I work over in residence and I essentially help resident students get engaged not only with the community and Ottawa as well. And I'm here joined with my friend Miriam, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about residence. So Miriam, if you want to give them a little wave and just say hi really quick. So from here, we just want to give you some information on what it is to live in residence. So at this point and at this time, you're probably already starting to think about exactly what Carleton University is all about and what we offer when it comes to residence. In this presentation, we're just going to go through some big pieces of information that you should keep in mind when deciding to move into residence. So the first thing to keep in mind is for anyone that is in any high school, we offer residence by May 15th. So you'll see that whether you're applying or not, May 15th is our hard deadline that we have of when you'll get an accepted offer. From there, you have a deadline from May 15th until June 8th to accept that offer. And with that, you need to make sure that you're putting in a deposit. So this deposit is usually $700 Canadian. And from there, a lot of people then ask questions about like, what if I can't get the deposit in on time, or what if my visa is not in on time, or those kind of questions like that. And I can definitely get to those later in the presentation, but there are different deadlines we have for that as well. So say, for example, you are in a situation where you accepted your offer on June 8th, and then afterwards your visa didn't come in on time, or you can't leave the country, you will be able to get your full refund there too. But I'll get into those details, so I'm not going to jump the gun too much. And then from there, a couple dates to keep in mind as well is that our move-in week is between September 2nd to September 5th. So here you can go in, choose a time that you would like to move in for, and that's the timing that we expect you to move in. If for some reason you need to move in later, or whatever that may be, you can get in touch with us with our accommodations email, which we'll share with you in our booth as well. That can kind of help you organize a time afterwards. And then also during the winter break, we do have a holiday break between December 24th to January 9th, where the school is actually closed. So if, for example, you need to stay around during that time period, you can request to do so through our residence information form, which is a perfect segue into exactly what that is. So the residence information form is essentially a questionnaire that is sent to you 48 hours after you accepted your offer of residence. From there, it's essentially a way for us to get a better understanding of you, what your preferences are, what you'd like to see happen when you're in residence. And this encompasses all different types of things, from anywhere between what your living habits are like to then like what kind of living room or living dormitory you would like to actually be part of. So what I mean by that is when you accept an offer of residence, right now your guaranteed offer is for a traditional double. So what that means is you are offered specifically a dormitory room with a roommate. So if, for example, you're looking to have a single room, you'll actually have to write that down as a preference on this residence information form. It's important to keep in mind that when it comes to wanting a single room, we give single rooms to those that have the medical requirement first, and then afterwards, the remaining single rooms that are available, we put that into a lottery system for everyone that's actually asked for a single room, and then from there, sign it from there. Okay. Afterwards, going forward, when it comes to like different things such as specialty floors, if, for example, you'd have certain types of communities that you'd like to live in, for example, a all-female floor or a substance-free floor, we do offer those, which you can also see in the residence information form as well. And then, as I talked about before, as the perfect segue, when it comes to the winter break accommodations, if you do need to stay over the winter break, you can request that here on the residence information form as well. So that's the residence information form in a nutshell. From there are a couple questions that usually float when it comes to that. And that's what I kind of allude to before of the what if. So what if I'm not able to attend? Or what if I don't have a guaranteed offer for residence? Or you're having trouble paying the deposit? These are the three big questions that we usually get when it comes to accepting your offer. So when it comes to not being able to attend, we do offer refunds. So the way it works is if, for example, there for any reasons, no question asked, you need a refund, we process a full 100% refund by June 8th. Then between June 8th to July 15th, again, we do offer no questions asked refund, but this is only for 50% of the refund, okay? But in your situation as an international student, if, for example, that your visa doesn't get accepted in time, or you're not able to leave the country, or you have those kind of related reasons as to why you can't come to the school or come to residence, we do offer a 100% refund up until move-in weekend. So that's up until September 2nd. It's important to be aware as soon as school starts, as soon as you start essentially attending the school, it starts to eat away to your residence deposit, and also starts to eat away at your the amount that you're paying. So it's important to essentially communicate with us as much as you possibly can. Then from there, when it comes to not being offered a guaranteed residence, we do have a wait list, so you can always still put yourself in the hat to apply for residence as well going forward. And it's not like you'll never get a spot. Like we do have a wait list that we do have there for people that are looking to do that. And then also, if you're having trouble paying the deposit, what we encourage people to do is just get in touch with us so we can then essentially help you out and give you some strategies and solutions as to how to do so. Then from there, that's again a perfect segue into resources and supports. So residence is really big on ensuring that once you're coming from a different country, you're feeling like you're supported and being transitioned well. So I chose the big three, residence fellows, residence counseling, and the cafeteria as the three big supports to talk to you about. So the residence fellow is essentially a senior student that lives on your floor that is there to help you throughout your entire school year. It can be anywhere between like, I've never done laundry before, to then being like, oh, I'm trying to like interview for a job, or you're having like some issues with transitioning from a different country. They're there to make sure that you are fully supported throughout the entire school year. On top of that, we do have residence counseling as well. So say, for example, you are looking to talk a little bit more about your own mental health, or you just need someone to talk to after coming here, residence counseling is a great option for that, and they're right in our residence community as well. And we do also have the cafeteria. So the cafeteria is a great state-of-the-art place where you can go, and it's my favorite place on campus, where it's essentially an all-you-can-eat, like dine-in service where you have breakfast, lunch, dinner, midnight snack, whatever you name it, and they really do bend to your dietary restrictions. So if, for example, you do have dietary restrictions, you can only eat certain types of food, they do prepackaged food for you as well. That being said, I do want to take a moment to really talk about the health and safety aspect of what it looks like when coming here, especially given the times that we're living in. So right now, we always have had resident security that patrols our residence community 24/7. So this is just to ensure that the health and safety of our residence community is our number one priority. So you'll see student safety patrollers, or you'll see other like safety patrollers walking around, ensuring to make sure everyone in the community is going through and living in our community in a safe and healthy way. Then you also see we have COVID-19 safety measures. So right now what we do have is Auto Public Health comes and evaluates everything that we do, and all of our procedures and policies are all kind of reviewed by Auto Public Health. So a couple things to keep note here is right now in double rooms, we only actually have one person that lives in the double room at the moment, and they share a bathroom with a canmate. And then from there are other things that we have in place as well. So for example, in the cafeteria, it's not really dine-in at the moment, it's takeout. Or for example, we usually have lounges and things like that that are on the floors as well. And those are currently closed off, but they open based off capacities and things like that. And that's a great segue into the fall 2021 scenarios. So right now, the scenarios for fall really are dependent on what COVID looks like at that time. So we really right now just take it like case by case as things evolve in Canada, in Ottawa, and based off of those is where we increase or decrease our limits. So for example, only recently did we make it so that the lounges were closed off. They were opened with a limitation of amount of people that are allowed to be in there, and that kind of thing, where we essentially evaluate case by case how things are looking, and that's how we increase limitations or decrease limitations based off of what COVID looks like. That being said, that's all the information that I have for you. But if you have any questions, you can always email me. The reason why I kind of sped through that is because I want to call upon my friend Khadija, because Khadija and I are going to talk a little bit about what it's like to actually live in residence. So Khadija is awesome, and she's lived in residence before, so she can speak to you on exactly what it's like to live in residence and what the actual feel is. So Khadija, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. I hope we can hear me well. My name is Khadija. I'm in my final year, so I'm in my 4th year of Bachelor of Social Work. I lived on residence last year, so 2019 to 2020, in Glengarry House, and I absolutely loved it. And yeah, I was a residence fellow, so I was one of the support systems. And me and Harry are just going to have like a conversation about my residence experience.
Oh yeah, yes we are. Yes we are. So Khadija, I'm very curious. So for the people, because you came from a different city, right? Like you didn't come from Ottawa, right? Like you lived in a different city, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You lived in Milton, was it?
Yeah, so I live in Milton. I'm here currently right now. And when I applied as a second year, so I wasn't a first year, I wasn't a freshman. I applied and I did not get into residence. So I was kind of stuck. Residence was full. I was on the wait list. And I was number 2 on the wait list. And I was really, really hopeful. I was like, oh, like I will definitely get it. I'm number 2. I did not get into residence that year. All of the spots were filled. So I had to figure out alternative housings for that year. And I kind of learned the off-campus kind of feel, how to really navigate. And then my 3rd year came about and I was like, I really want to live on residence. I want to experience residence. I want to have that community. And I applied to be a residence fellow and I got it. And I had that opportunity to experience residence while at the same time supporting students going through that experience the same time I was going through that experience, which is most definitely unique.
Yeah. And like, it almost kind of speaks to the experience of like, obviously when you're getting that or applying for residence, like being very wary of the dates and deadlines and things like that. But then also like you're coming from a new city and you're coming to like Ottawa, which is very different from Milton, right? Like, how did you feel like that transition from going from that city to coming to then the residence community was like?
It was kind of interesting, mainly because I'm from like a small town, but we're like quickly growing. So I was kind of in that situation where I was going to a city where I did not know anybody, and I was like, oh, like how am I gonna meet friends? How am I gonna like figure out like where to go, what bus to take, where I need to get these resources and items. And at Carleton, I really found like it was a sense of belonging, and like something that really stuck with me is I like to stick within my roots, like people I know and my cultures and my traditions. And I quickly found that in not even in residence, but even just in like clubs and societies that are offered through Carleton. When I got to residence, I did find people who had the same interests and were in the same clubs and who liked to go swimming. So like I found my people, and I found like people who I had things in common with. But it was really, I felt like a sense of belonging, and I felt a sense of community, both when I was in residence and the general Carleton experience.
Yeah, it's like it's interesting because like you have kind of like the untraditional route into residence, right? Like instead of like being like, yeah, like I lived in residence in first year and I loved it, like it was more so on your end, like it was unfortunate that you didn't get into residence the first bit, but then you got drawn back based off of some of the things that you were talking about, right? So like that's really cool that you're able to share that experience. And like one question I have for you, and I think the people in the chat would like to hear about this too, is especially coming from a new city and coming into Ottawa, and then you ended up choosing residence. So then when you were in residence, how did you feel like the community was? Like, did you feel like you had the chance to create relationships with people in the community by any chance?
Yes, most definitely. I feel like I did be able to create community. Like I said, like I was able to find people who had similar interests with me. And something that was
Mhm.
cool, like I wasn't just like, it wasn't just like my floor, but it was like different floors because I would either be going down the elevator ride and there'd be people from my building, or I'd be going down the stairs and I would be having conversations with them, or like in the dining hall, so in the cafeteria, it would just be like that whole like aspect of everybody who lives on residence or people who just choose to eat there. And like you would always find some interest. Like I know somebody was asking if there was like vegan meals. I'm personally like halal. So like if I would go to the halal section, I would have that food. There would be somebody who's also getting that same type of food with me. And you would just have a conversation, and then you would figure out what building you were in and then like some interest. And like I found friends who I would end up going 6 a.m. swimming with. So like
Oh
I,
wow.
even if they weren't in my building, they were able, like I was able to still like have and make friends in other ways.
That's awesome. Wow. 6 a.m. swimming. That is
Yes.
dedication to swimming. Good for you.
It did not
Um,
last very long.
so then going off of that, and I'm curious to hear your answer to this. So when you think back to your residence community, like residence experience, is there like one like memory that you have that really stands out to you, whether it's like an event that you were part of, or maybe as a residence fellow that you put on for people, like stands out to you that you're like, oh, like I really had fun during this, or I felt really engaged during this, or whatever that may be. Is there something like that that like sticks out to you when you think about residence?
Yes. And I would say it is that, like I'm already thinking like yes, it was the first day, and it was our like floor meeting when everybody just moved in, like the first or the second day, everybody moved in onto the floor, and we would all have that like hello, like welcome, like this is who I am, I'm your res fellows, this is like who my co-res fellow is. And like you got to see everybody, and I will never forget that because like you can see like the sense of like anxiousness, and they're nervous and they're like living on their own for the first time, but you're in a room with people who are going through the same things as you. So it's like, oh, like even I'm not alone in this. And like that's what I really got, because I was going through that too. Like I was like, oh, like I'm living in residence for the first time, and these guys are living in residence for the first time too. And it's like we're going through this together. So it was really it was an opportunity to open up a discussion. And I felt that really stuck with me because like while they would have questions for me, I'd be like, you know what, I don't know that answer, but I will definitely figure that out for you. And while they were learning, I was learning too. And I feel like that night of just seeing everybody and just putting
Mhm.
a name to a face, it will stick with me forever.
Oh, that is a great answer. Very wholesome. Oh man. And it really also speaks to the like even being a residence fellow and like the impact of a residence fellow in the community as well, right? Like to give people in the chat a little bit more understanding, like the residence fellow, as I kind of mentioned, is a senior staff member or senior student that is on the floor that's there to really help you and guide you through your school year. But they're also really there just like get to know you, help you make friendships in the community and get to know other people on the floor. And especially that first meeting that you have with people where you see like everyone together, and obviously like with COVID things might be a bit different, but like even like when you get to bring everyone together, see everyone for the first time, and you're right, like everyone's kind of going through things together for the first time. It definitely is like a big sigh of relief almost. You're like, oh, like there's all these other people that are also going through this transition with me too. So I'm just being cognizant of time just because I know that you guys have some other booths that you have to go to as well. So we have like a minute or so left. So Khadija, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to 45 seconds to say why the people in the chat should be choosing residence. Go.
It's okay. So this is the reason. I lived off campus. So I never had that like option of going to residence because I was waitlisted. So a little bit about that, but we're gonna move past that. I honestly feel like if you're going to Ottawa for the first time and you don't know anybody, it's a really great place to find people to either live off campus for the following year or to make friends and have that sense of community. Going to university for the first time can be very, very scary. I went through that, and I believe that other people in this who are in these roles went through that as well. And I feel like it's a really good start to get to where you're going and where you want to be. And it's just like a resource. You can get anywhere. We have tunnels. You can get anywhere. If you sleep in, you can get to class in 2 minutes. So there's a lot of, you shouldn't be sleeping in, but there's a lot of pros to residence. And I really feel like it's a great place to make friends that will be your friends forever. And it's a really great sense of belonging and community.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Khadija. That's fantastic. It certainly brings back memories of when I was in residence back in the day, a long time ago. And the friends I made in residence, honestly, they're still my friends to this day. So it's a really great part of the university experience. Unfortunately, that ends our time for today, but I do encourage all of the viewers right now to participate in the next session on the Insider session. And it will start in about 5 minutes. Thank you so much to all of you who joined us today. We look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully we'll see you on campus. Take care.
Bye.